Hey everybody, welcome to Perry TV. We're checking in with Piers Morgan and the recent Nowak crime. Let's listen in to what he's got to say.
The murder he just committed to falsely accuse his dying victim of a racist assault. The parallels with George Floyd are clear. It's not about martyrdom. It's about how society and culture responds to tragedy and outrage. Black Lives Matter had global support to begin with. But unity in a crisis doesn't last for long. Facts change. People fight about the solutions. Fanatics in either camp use the public's passion to push fanatical ideas. And that's how BLM mutated into an obsession with racism and identity, hand in hand with believing all victims and assuming guilt. That's how you end up with official guidance from police chiefs, which says that officers should treat white people and minorities differently. Our commitment to racial equity means producing equality of policing outcomes for people from different ethnic groups, it says. The equality of policing outcomes should be directly connected to whether you committed a crime and nothing else. It's hard to imagine that any of this language would exist without the post-BLM climate of hysteria, which led to branding everything from cricket to the actual countryside as institutional.
I don't agree with Piers in this case.
About bad reactions to genuine outrage, we have to look at what's happened since. Henry's father said this.
We do not want his death to be used to create further division, hatred, or tension. We want his story to make our streets safer for everyone.
Well, Nigel Farage, in a so-called emergency address, then said this.
Henry's family have responded to this in just the most extraordinarily dignified way. But I suggest the rest of us respond to this with pure, cold rage.
All right, on cue, there were violent protests and clashes with police in Southampton where the murder happened. Last night, Tommy Robinson whipped them up with a speech talking about Pakistani Muslims who had nothing to do with his killing. Elon Musk has led the charge online as many US commentators are seized on this horror as proof that white people have been victims all along. The truth is, the same people were the loudest critics of identity politics. The idea that characteristics like skin colour should define everything and that one group inevitably abuses the other. The other can't see the trap they're falling into, or more likely, they can, and they're doing this for vengeance. We should all be incensed by Henry Nowak's murder and demand it never happens again. But nothing ever gets better if you simply repeat the same mistakes. Well, joining me in the studio for the first time, actually, is Michael Knowles, host of the Michael Knowles Show. Michael, you're in England, you're in London, you're in my studio. It's a trifecta of joy.
It's good to be with you, sir. Thank you for having me.
Really great to see you here to talk at the Oxford Union, amongst other things, but it's great to have you here, particularly for what is going to be, I think, a very pertinent debate, and I'll be very interested in your views on this. We're also joined by Mark Lamont Hill, the host of Bet News, by Wajahat Ali, the author of the Left Hook newsletter, and Dave Smith, host of Part of the Problem. So a really top-class panel for a really important...
I wouldn't exactly call them top class. Not a couple of them. My opinion. But we show both sides.
From my perspective, I wrote this at the time, I believe it now. He should never have died. It was a horrific thing to watch on video. The reaction was enormous globally. Some felt it was an overreaction. Others looked for fault in George Floyd, but ultimately I felt it was a police officer massively behaving in a way which should never have been tolerated, and indeed he's now incarcerated. Here we have again, in the UK, we have at least one police officer, but a group of them were there, but one who just not only refused to believe that Henry Nowak had been stabbed, but the police collectively bought into the killer's story, that he had been the subject of racial abuse and that was what was really going on here, which turned out all to be complete nonsense. I don't want to read too much.
Well, that's it in a nutshell. Piers summed it up. I'm going to come back with a bit more later. Thank you for watching.